Aloha and welcome to Muro's Temple, the podcast, where we explore the deeper work behind our Hawaii location and online platform. I invite you to join me as we return home to your body's feminine wisdom. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. It's lovely to be here with you right now. We are in the middle of eclipse season, moving towards the solstice, which is such a profound time of the year. For me, I work deeply with solstices and equinoxes, and it's so beautiful because I'm seeing more and more people, although they don't necessarily articulate it or say, well, the solstice is coming, they do say, what's going on? I feel something and this is not normal. So it's lovely to see that people are feeling this thing that's happening, which some of us call Ascension, some of us call awakening, and we're going to talk about what the difference is. But it's happening, and the awakening of consciousness and humanity is happening. So that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so today I want to talk about the 3 parts of this process, because when I first started, I think everything happens so fast, and I think that's typical in the awakening process. Everything just sort of hits you so fast the first few years that there's no time to really embody. And when I say embody, if you go back to the last episode about the 4 steps of embodiment, like the first few years of your awakening process is this consistent hit of your spirit or your soul. So the hit of the expansion. And that was step 1 of the embodiment process. So you're in this constant expansion mode for about 3 to 4 years. And so the way that the cycles work is that we work naturally there's a lot of cycles that are happening continuously. But the 7-year cycle is what is referred to as the spiritual cycle. So every 7 years, there's some kind of aspect of your spirit body or your consciousness that is evolving in a certain way. Yeah. That's why they say when you are growing up, you have access to your subconscious until about 6 or 7 years old. Yeah. That's the 7-year journey. So the first 7 years, you're in that first and second step of the embodiment podcast that I talked about earlier, which is there's this expansion, and then you're asked, are you ready? Expansion, are you ready? Expansion, are you ready? And most of us, or most people, I would say yes. Oh my God, yes, I want to read that book. I want to talk to that person. And that's pretty consistent. And what happens at some point, so this is what I would call the awakening aspect. The awakening is the first few years, let's say about 4 years. There's just consistent synchronicity, the whole 11:11, and I'm waking up at 2:22, and why do I see my phone every time it's 5:55? And yeah, all these synchronicities, because your energy field is shifting. And I won't go into too much craziness because we can get lost in a wormhole. And my intention this year was to keep these podcasts short. So as your energy field starts to light up and open up, which is literally the step 1 of embodiment, which is expansion. You're lit up. This is so exciting. This is a whole new world, right? Things come at you because you are ready to receive them. Like I had said earlier, the book, the conversation, the TV series, the Gaia, and all of these streams. And it's really, really important during these years just to have a little bit of discernment, because a lot of things can come at you. And in a sense, it's quite an interesting perspective. Like, it's kind of life itself takes on this life, literally, like life becomes alive and it starts to interact with you. And it's also testing you to see, how far are you going to take this thing? Will you have discernment? Will you be disciplined? will you not be disciplined? And it's not to judge ever. It's kind of like training your energy field in a sense. So if you've ever grown up in any kind of sport or hobby or something that required you to consistently show up, or maybe you do that now, that's a really important habit to have, because you are disciplining yourself. Anyway, coming back, this is the awakening part. The first 4 years, let's say, you're just lit up. You're in constant expansion mode. Then you have the activation aspect of the ascension and awakening process. The activation is when you've said yes to the conversations, the learning, the books, the wormholes, and you now have to follow through, and you have to start grounding what you're learning. So you can't just learn to be the love and be the light and then share that with the world, because what happens is it starts to come back at you. Like the whole point of the awakening and ascension process is that you become a mirror. And as we clean our own mirror, we reflect our reality. And we become a more powerful creator of the reality that we create. It's so divine. It's like such a perfect, divinely orchestrated, advanced intelligence that we're made of. So as we integrate and ground, we will inevitably be faced with challenges. There's no doubt about it. And those challenges will come depending on how you're made up, depending on your soul destiny and your birth chart and all these things. This is where your challenges will come. You will be faced with your medicine. It's going to end up being your medicine. So for example, for me, one of these very difficult initiations, you can call them, or difficulties of cleaning my own mirror, was being able to speak up about my experiences. I was literally in the spiritual closet for like 7 years because I could not literally ground or integrate. Like I was stuck. And that was my medicine. That was why it was so difficult for me. And so you will have your own difficulty along the path. But it's really important, because in the middle of activating, even though I couldn't speak, it doesn't mean I wasn't still showing up. I was still moving through and saying, yes, I'm wanting to expand. But then, of course, you start to find these walls that you hit. And you're like, why do I feel like I'm hitting something? Like I'm not where I was 2 years ago when it was just consistent. Because as you activate your energy field, as you activate your energy centers, things inevitably have to be moved through. That means the deeper layers of your subconscious are now going to start being revealed. So in the beginning, you don't actually work with your subconscious. You're just kind of like lighting up your energy field. And as you move through the years, you're lifting up the veil one layer at a time, like peeling an onion. And as you go deeper and deeper, you continue to peel more layers and more layers of the subconscious. And this is why it's so beautiful to understand the feminine path, because it's literally a spiral. It's this beautiful, never-ending spiral that you get to come back to who you are and learn yourself over and over again, and not realize, wow, this is who I've been and this is what I've been doing. And because as you pull a layer up and you lift up a new veil, a new reality, you see a whole new layer of yourself. And so through the process of awakening and activation, this is a lot of times where you see like a lot of more of the younger generations. And it's not to point fingers, it's just to have discernment. It's really, really important at this time. Like I'm becoming really passionate about just sharing that we all have to have discernment, including you listening to me. Like if this doesn't feel good, notice it. If it feels well, notice that. And I have to do the same thing, because I'm such a nerd in a sense. I love learning, like really love digging deep. And so I have to be very discerning about what information I take in and what information I actually believe. And ultimately, again, if you go back to the embodiment podcast, you have to go through the 4 steps to actually understand if something is for you. You can't just read it and regurgitate it. It doesn't work that way. And again, it will always be spit back at you. And so going back to my original sentence is that when you see more of the younger generations, like reading a book on a yogi and just kind of like spitting out information and just telling you to let things go and be the love and light. And this is part of the awakening process. They're starting to activate some energy centers, but they're not necessarily grounding the energy and embodying the energy. And this is where I believe the very important step of asking yourself, am I committed to the full expansion and evolution of my consciousness, which inevitably asks me to become a part of an ascension process? And an ascension process is committing to the journey, or what I like to say, the path of love, the journey back to self, the journey back to God. And anyone that has at least considered that path or walked that path or been initiated on that path will tell you it is the most humbling path of all life. And they probably won't rant about it nor, scream it at the top of the lungs, because there are times that you will be forced to come back to your heart's wisdom. And your heart's wisdom does not allow for certain things to happen. There's like natural laws that we can't overcome if we are fully dedicated to restructuring the chambers within our heart space and really activating the entire energy field that we are consist of. So the ascension process is this time where after about 10 years or so in the process, you are really asked, like, am I really, at least after that first 7-year cycle, is like you're going to be asked by yourself, or you're going to realize like, okay, where is this thing taking me? Like, what's next? And what's next is you become the way. You become a living, breathing essence of the path of love, of a return home. And that's, my body initially, I weep. I weep because I feel that so deeply, that we yearn it as a humanity. We yearn so much this connection back to source, back to God, back home. And yet we are that. And the process of ascension is to recognize that and embody that, go through the 4 steps of that embodiment process. And it's so humbling and it's so grounding, and it requires so much structure, so much discipline, so much integrity. And if there's anything that I want to share with you at this point, is just to be really clear as to like where you are in your journey. Again, no judgment. It actually doesn't matter, but it's good to be aware. Awareness is key. And so where are you on your journey, and where is it that you want to go? And it's not like we're going somewhere, right? We're not going somewhere, but we are dedicated to something. You are dedicated to your life. You are dedicated to something. And so to be very clear about that and be able to articulate it will support the carving out of your path. Like, I wish somebody would have told me this in the beginning. It's like that this is kind of why we're all here, to help each other on this process, to not have to make things move so slowly. Although technically they haven't been slow. They've been very, very fast. But to have more awareness more early on is the ideal circumstance. So, with all of this being said, if this kind of conversation lights you up, if you feel expanded by this conversation, right? Step one of embodiment. If you feel expanded about the conversation of awakening and activation and like, how do you ground this stuff? What's going on? How do you make this stuff practical? Because we can really, from my own experience, I became very disembodied with this process. And that's a big reason why I work so much with the feminine and was initiated in the feminine wisdom teachings, because I had to come back and I had to have a very intimate relationship with what it means to embody these energies. And so, just given everything that I'm seeing around me and feeling and experiencing, I'm now officially opening the doors to Divine I Am, which is a journey of moving from awakening to ascension, meaning you're aware that you're in the awakening process. You're aware that something's happening. You're aware that things are speeding up. And you're ready to learn more. And you're also ready to take a commitment towards this process of expanding your consciousness and committing to something that lights you up and lights up your heart field and ultimately lights up your community and the world that you're living in. So if this resonates with you, I invite you to join me on a journey in this solstice. What a perfect time, what a powerful time to be working together. And in this course, I'm also including the new version of the 3-day reset, which I'm so freaking excited about because it's like a direct reflection of what I had to experience and move through for so many years. So that's going to be amazing. And I invite you to check out the link below. And of course, you can always reach out to me, send me an email or DM me on Instagram if you have any questions. And I wish you all the most amazing and beautiful blessings on your ascension process and during this eclipse gateway, the solstice gateway, or wherever and whenever you are listening to this. Okay, my loves, until next time. Mwah. Mahalo for being here with me today. And as usual, if you'd like to learn more about what we do at our Hawaii location or online, explore the courses, the mentorship, or the events, go to www.murosetemple.com. See you soon.